40 through 42. Hear these words of Jesus. Jesus said, "Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly, I tell you, none of these will lose their reward." May God bless these words to our understanding and our lives to God's service. This section of Scripture is the ending of a section we began 2 weeks ago. And it has focused on Jesus' directions to his disciples as they go out. In this section, he's talking about welcome, being welcoming, how you invite others to be in your presence so that they may teach Jesus' words. Think about this, welcoming. How do we welcome people? This is a holiday weekend. We've all had company, either this weekend or times previously. When someone comes to your home, how do you welcome them?
Hug.
A hug, okay. What else do you do when you're having company? Cook. Cook, cook, cook. What else? Clean. One of the things that I will be doing in the next day or so, in preparation for my son coming, is I'll wash the linens on the bed because the dog likes to sleep there. And I'm not sure that Josh would mind the dog hair, but it's a nice thing to wash the linens. We do things so that people will be comfortable. How do we welcome people to church? A handshake.
A hug.
A hug. If you know them, maybe you shouldn't attack people with a hug if you've never seen them before, but a handshake works.
A smile.
A smile.
Eye contact.
Eye contact. Good.
A welcome.
A welcome. Hi, how are you? Yeah, sure. Jesus talks about even a cup of water. So it doesn't have to be a huge thing, because frankly, not all of us are into the hugging, handshaking, big talk welcome. But just eye contact and a smile gives us room. Have you ever been somewhere where you did not feel welcome? Oh, I hear some oohs. Yes, we've had that experience. Would anyone like to share? No? Okay. Okay.
I've been to some churches where nobody bothered to say hello.
I've been to a few of those too.
Where you feel like an outsider, like a stranger.
Yeah. I've been a lot of places, church, public functions, where it seemed like everybody had a group but me. And I know you won't believe this, but there are times when I'm not a real outgoing person. There are times when I don't quite know how to insert myself into what already is. Welcoming goes the other way too. As much as we need to welcome others in, sometimes others need to welcome us. It's a two-way street. And that's what Jesus is getting at. He's saying even the smallest act can help someone feel welcome. can give them a little space. One theologian, Henry Nouwen, writes, "Hospitality means primarily the creation of free space where the stranger can enter and become a friend instead of an enemy. Hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them space where change can take place. It is not to bring men and women over to our side, but to offer freedom not disturbed by dividing lines." Being welcoming creates space where things can happen. Have you ever gotten to know someone that you initially thought, ew, I don't like them. I don't like their family. I don't like the section of town they come in from. Something about them I just don't like. Have you ever done that? And then gotten to know that person and discovered in hearing their story, in learning more about them, that you have more in common than you have different. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever been somewhere that you didn't want to go? Yeah? And then gotten there and discovered it wasn't as bad as you thought it would be? It happens. You have to be open for that to happen. What keeps us from doing that? What keeps us from reaching out to people we don't know?
Fear.
Fear! I think that's the number one. Fear. Some of our fears might be, maybe they're not safe. Don't we teach our children don't talk to strangers? Sure.
Part of it is trust.
Trust. Yeah. What if I'm open and I'm nice and then they're not? It happens. It happens. People take advantage of people. And I think that goes back to trust. Do they have any reason to trust us? Sometimes we have to be the first one to put that out there. We have to be the first to welcome. You know, somebody has to be the first. Somebody has to step out of their comfort zone and be the first.
They might laugh at you.
They might laugh at you. Any of you been laughed at?
Yes.
Sure. Sure. Being vulnerable, putting yourself out there, opens you to a whole host of reactions. Sometimes people laugh at you. Sometimes people gossip about you. There are all kinds of things that can happen when we make ourselves vulnerable, when we trust someone enough to say, come over here and eat with us.
When we are open.
When we are open, we open that space where God can be with us. God tells us repeatedly, the Bible tells us repeatedly, don't be afraid, for I am with you. Do we always trust that? I don't. And I suspect most of you are just as human as I am in that. It's hard to trust. Especially if you've experienced trusting, putting yourself out there, and you get the laughter, or the gossip, or the shaming, or whatever it is. Has anyone ever made true friend with someone that they didn't think they liked? One of my best friends I met in college, and she was not a friend in college. In fact, I thought she was one of the most stuck-up people I had ever met. I watched part of the movie Legally Blonde yesterday. Have you seen that one? Okay. Rhonda was very much like Reese Witherspoon's character. She came across as the airhead who was always dressed like she could have come straight from the cover of Vogue. She drove a huge car, and in the 70s, big cars were a status symbol. Now it's like, you drive that? She always came to class dressed like she came straight from the cover of Vogue, in a time where college students wore ratty jeans and t-shirts with things like Jimi Hendrix. Okay? And she always came in, and I thought, wow, she was the member of the hoity-toity sorority. And that was my take on her. And she didn't think much of me either. It's not that I was so wonderful. She didn't think much of me either, but I didn't find that out till much later. She was a year ahead of me in school, and she graduated and went on her way. Well, I graduated, and I needed a job. And in that time, there were not just a whole lot of job openings in public schools for speech therapists. And I got one interview. And guess where it was? She was going to be my direct supervisor. And when I found that out, my first thought was, I'm going to be living in Mom's house for another year. Because there's no way she's hiring me. And even if she were willing to, would I be willing to work for her? I think I got the job simply because they desperately needed somebody and they didn't have any other applicants. But then I thought, well, it's okay because she has her schools and I have my schools and we only have to see each other at teacher in service, and that's only a couple of days a year. We can deal with that. And then 2 months later, we got letters. If you don't have a master's in 5 years, you don't have a job. So we have to go back to school. And the only school close enough for us to go to is a 2.5-hour drive away. And there was nothing to do but for us to carpool to go to school together. 5 hours every Monday, we were in a car together. And I think she looked forward to it just as much as I did. Well, if you get 2 speech therapists together, there's going to be conversation. We cannot shut up long enough for there to be silence. So we talked. And the more we talked, the more we discovered that we had a lot in common. She was always dressed to the nines because she had a job working at Famous Bar. You can't wear ratty jeans and t-shirts to work in Famous Bar. Nice store. And she drove the big car because it was her dad's old car. It broke down frequently. And I then discovered that the reason she didn't like me was because I questioned teachers. I questioned teachers because I wanted to know more. I want to know all the whys. And once she got to know me and I got to know her, we became great friends. But we didn't like each other. We wanted nothing to do with each other. We did not make space for each other because we were both good Christian women. We made space for each other because we didn't have a choice. We were forced together. But look what happened in that space. Yes, sometimes we can make that space, we can be vulnerable. And it doesn't work. Sometimes that other person just can't be in that space and be a safe person. But if that happens, that's not on us for being vulnerable. That's on them for taking advantage of vulnerability. Jesus was friendly, not only with the people that all other Jews of that time were willing to be accepting, but also with tax collectors and prostitutes. Known sinners, like the rest of us aren't sinners. And Jesus said, they are all my beloved. So even those people, whoever those people are for us, even they are part of God's beloved. Even they belong to God, whether they recognize that or not. And in our willingness to put out our welcome mat, to be a part of God's family, that space can make change. In those circumstances where you yourself have felt unwelcome, for whatever reason, had those people done one thing, welcoming, had they shaken your hand, or had they shown you a good place to sit, or had they given you that cup of cold water, would your vision of them change? I suspect it would. Mine certainly did when I was put in that position. We are all God's beloved children. Even those we don't like, for whatever reason we don't like them. We are all God's beloved. God welcomes each and every one with a holy kiss and an invitation. Sit here. Sit in the good chair. Sit here. Let me fix what you like to eat. Come, sit by me and be part of my holy community of love. And that's what Jesus invites us to do. To welcome each and every person as God's beloved, because they are. Amen.